Good afternoon, LBC Radio. My name is Corey Rosen, and you are listening to the Story Podcast. Today, I have on a super awesome guest, Mr. Cody Tyler. You could call Cody Tyler and the Gypsy Convoy red dirt country, but the rocky soil in cold country and the Rust Belt, where Cody's family has been rooted for centuries, is a few shades darker. The songs on Cody's debut album are the product of his musings while hunting deep in the Pennsylvania wilderness. At 28 years old, his music journey had just begun, but his yearning to travel the open road with his songs written from his tree stand have already taken him across the United States, drawing heavy influence from the likes of Waylon Jennings, the Allman Brothers Band, the Steelwoods, Sturgill Simpson, and more. Cody's voice and guitar sport a road-tested sound. His band's debut album, Stare Your Demons Down, was recorded at Think Loud Studios in York, Pennsylvania, a private studio space in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Full Tilt Productions in Mechanicsburg. Cody describes its sound as dusty like the coal mines and rusty like the steel mills. It's soulful and bluesy country for Appalachian folks that want to kick up their boots. Cody, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Corey. Thanks for having me on. How you been?
I've been pretty good, man. I'm excited to get down to because you said this whole shtick of yours has been rooted here for centuries.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know how long your family's been around here, or?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I'm a Governor Mifflin graduate from up in Berks County, and I had a teacher there who taught local history, and that's always a subject that I've been interested in. So I took that course, and part of the course was to use ancestry.com to trace back your family roots. And with the power of the internet, in addition to ancestry, I was able to trace back my father's line all the way to Germany, and I found that our people came over here in the 1750s before the revolution even happened.
Oh wow,
And one of my direct ancestors actually fought in the revolution under Washington. So we've been here for as long as the country's been here,
that's incredible! What a way to start a country, man.
right? 300 years ago, yeah.
So, what you just mentioned you came up with songs out in the wilderness hunting. What was it like when you first discovered? Oh, I want to do music.
It couldn't have come at a worse time because I was a senior in college at the time. I'm a Millersville graduate.
Mm,
So I was over there to get my degree in teaching, and my degree is actually in social studies education. So I still do teach, but the music thing is also, I basically have two full-time jobs.
mm.
And midway through my senior year was when I decided, okay, the music thing might actually might hold some water. I did a couple shows and people really seemed to enjoy it, and the demand just kept growing, and it was like, okay, I think we've got something else on our hands here. There's another plan, you know.
Mhm.
It's not just teaching that I'm supposed to be doing, and my wife was part of helping me realize that was a dream that I had.
That's awesome. So, where does the songwriting process for you start? What does that look like for you?
The songwriting process is very weird for me. I have words that come to me usually before the music comes. Um, so what it starts out as is sort of like a poem that eventually music gets put to, but the
Mm.
words come to me. I don't know where they come from. It just happens at the most random times. Sometimes it can be while I'm driving. Sometimes it's in the shower, which I've been told is actually quite a common thing for good ideas to come in the shower. But there have been times where I've had to pull over on the road and write down words as they come. And then sometimes when I'm just working, sitting at a desk or something, they'll just come flowing out of a pen. Something I could never say.
Mm.
It just comes out on a piece of paper sometimes.
No, that's
It's weird.
awesome. It's a great reminder for musicians to always keep a pen and pad, or to have your iPhone or your notes app open all the time.
I use the notes app quite a bit.
Absolutely. So, you are in college. You start doing some shows. What was it? What did you start out with covers, or did you start with originals?
It was mostly covers to start, and the reason I did it was I had met my wife and we started dating midway through my senior year, and it was getting tough to visit her because she went to Kutztown, I went to Millersville,
Mm.
and it was tough because when you're student teaching, you can't really work because your work is all during the day, and then you have classes at night, and you're not getting paid to student teach, you're actually paying to student teach. So I was
Really?
like, yeah, because you're paying for your credits and you get credits for student teaching. So when you
Mm.
student teach, you kind of like you're actually paying to work at that point.
Seems a little weird.
So it is. But I had to have a way to keep getting gas in my truck to get back and forth between Millersville and where I was student teaching at Hempfield. And my wife said, "Well, why don't you start playing shows? You make a little extra money on the side. It's only a couple hours a week, to commit to going and finding a place to play." So we got business cards made, and we started making videos and cranking out some online content to get sort of a digital footprint so that we could start getting some people to show up to these shows. And it just grew and grew over time. I graduated from Millersville, graduated with honors, and then that summer we played as many shows as we could. And by the following year, about a year after I was out of college, we were on tour playing solo stuff. And eventually I got picked up by a cover band. And then some of those people in there, we formed this band.
So what was it like did you always have that yearning to do music, or was it just like as when you started out in college and it really put it together?
I always wanted to do music, and I always knew I wanted to play for people because when I would play in front of people, just, at family gatherings, at barbecues, people really loved it. And I loved that feeling of playing and making, compelling somebody to feel a certain way
Mm,
about a song. If you can compel somebody to feel a certain way, you're doing your job.
right.
And I didn't want to take that leap because there was that limiting belief, that fear of, there's not that many people that can make a living in music. It's impossible. And my wife made me see that, it'll go as far as you're willing to take it. And through a lot of research, I found that, and especially the way the music industry's changed, it is possible to make a living doing music. And I'm proof of that. It's not my full-time living, but it does help pay the bills. And when I can go to the grocery store and buy groceries with money that I made from playing music, I think you've made it at
It's a
that
great
point.
feeling.
It's a great
Right.
feeling. Yeah.
Where you can finally say, "Oh, I don't need to put in an extra hour or do whatever else. You can do what you love,
Yeah.
making music and writing songs and performing live for people." It's incredible work. So you do this in college, and I guess you were started out solo.
Yeah, yeah, it started out by myself and was doing that for 9 months to a year before I got picked up by a band.
So what was it like being picked up by a band as opposed to putting a band together?
It was cool getting picked up by a band because all the equipment was already there. It was guys that were much older than me that liked the music that I liked. We did a lot of Southern rock and classic rock covers. I brought a little bit of country stuff into the fold. I grew up on that stuff, and the guy that brought me in, I had known since I was a kid.
Mm.
I remember my parents taking me to a fire hall to see his band perform when I was a kid. And that was a really great band. We did a lot of covers. I think we only pulled one or two of my original songs um, closer to the end of my time with that band. But it was a great learning experience, and it was good to be with guys that were older than me because they'd been around the block and they taught me everything they knew.
Yeah, I was about to say it. Starting out as a musician, well, people don't know this about me, but I almost started a band. I was almost into a band early on by a bunch of old cats that had been around, forever.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And there's my voice. And they really gave me the experience and the wisdom that only an older person can impart on a young musician. So you had that band. How long did that go for?
So that band went for, geez, so that's late 2017 and late 2019 was when I told them I was moving on with the solo with the new band project with all the original songs. Um, and so that was late 2019. So it was about 2 years I was in that band. So since basically I was juggling where I was playing a little bit of gigs with Gypsy Convoy in 2019, but we didn't have much. It was probably only 5 shows, but 2020 was when we really tried to put the hammer down and get going.
And how'd that work out for you?
Well, we started recording this album that we just put out last May. We started recording it in February of 2020, and then the pandemic hit, and it definitely lengthened the amount of time that we spent recording. It was funny, but we came out on the other side. Everything's all good, and
It's
and
good.
we're still hitting hard and pounding the pavement.
So it's always funny because I've done over 100 interviews, and it's always funny whenever someone says, "Yeah, 2019 we're really hitting our stride. 2020 we're gonna do stuff, and then it's like, well, how'd that work? And everyone's like, it didn't.
Yeah. We did what we could. I did some live stream solo. We wanted to do a live stream with the band, but we just didn't have the tech required to do it.
Mm,
So we didn't really do a lot of live stream stuff with the band, but I was doing a lot of solo stuff. And we found places to play outdoors with masks, with social distancing, however we could. We just were grinding it out because we had an album to pay for,
right.
and you rely on that income from shows to put towards that album.
And for those who don't know, CDs and like merchandise is mostly where you get a lot of your money from.
That's true. Yeah.
So, what was it like? Because in the bio, it mentioned 3 different recording studios.
Mhm.
That's atypical for an album.
Yeah, especially for a band that's starting out. So we decided to record at Think Loud in York. And then there were some issues with COVID, obviously, getting back in there. They closed the studio off to people who didn't directly know the band that owns the studio live. Um, so we had to find somewhere else to record. So we went to the engineer that was working with us there has a home studio. It's a top secret location in Lancaster. He actually has moved since then, but he was in Lancaster, so we had to go there. We cut the horns for our first song, One of the Heart, in that basement, and then he moved from Lidditz to North Lancaster, so we had to wait for his studio to get built there. And while we waited, we laid down the bedding tracks for some of the other songs at Full Tilt in Mechanicsburg because his home studio we couldn't track drums,
Mm,
so we had to use Full Tilt to track the rest of the drums and bass and keyboards. Um, but once he got his home studio set up in North Lancaster, we did a lot of the vocals and a lot of the guitars, pedal steel, harmonica. That was all done like not that far from here.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool that you guys could use Lancaster as a home base for country music as opposed to like Nashville or somewhere else.
Yeah, it was definitely cheaper to stay closer to home because we could sleep in our own beds. We didn't have to get hotels or anything like that. Yeah, Nashville would have been tough. And honestly, the tech that's down in Nashville isn't any further advanced than the tech used by the studios in the local area. There's a ton of studios around here that you
Right.
can go to. You don't have to go to Nashville and spend $2,000 a song to
No,
record.
it's a great thing about technology is that everyone can have it,
That's right.
and we have it right here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in Central PA. So tell me about the for you. How did these songs come together? Was it over a few years, or did you sit down and say, "I'm going to write an album"? What is the album about? Is there a central theme to it? Is it like a old school album, or is it like a new school album?
So we tried to keep a central theme to the album. I didn't actually write all the songs with that in mind. I came up with the title because the title came from a line in our first song, One to the Heart. And in a way, that line sort of encompassed, I was like, wow, that does kind of fit in with the theme with all of these songs. And I mean, these songs are a couple of years worth of work.
Mm,
Some of the songs were a title written on a sticky note and put in a drawer and saved there for 3 or 4 years before I eventually finished it. Some songs will take years to write, and others will just take a couple minutes. Um, there's a song on that album, Eagle Tattoo, that took me 15 minutes to write. I pulled over on the side of the road. That was one of those where it caught me while I was driving, and I pulled over and I had it written. Playing with Firewater, that one, I had the title in my head for probably a good 5 years. And eventually one day sitting in a tree stand, the words started to come to me.
mm.
So it all depends on the song and the words floating around in the ether, just waiting to
To be
be put
pulled.
to paper, to be pulled out. Yeah.
I have to say kudos to you for pulling over and writing down stuff because I tell you what, if ever a song came to my mind while I'm driving, I'm gonna be like, oh, I remember it or whatever. That must take a lot of guts to pull over and write down something, just even for 15 minutes, just to get it all out and have it down. Do you have the chord structure in your head at the time, or is it just lyrics?
No, in my head when I'm writing the words, I will have like a tune in my head, like the song's already in my head and I need to figure out how to bring it into the physical realm. You
Gotcha.
know what I mean? And that can be very difficult. And sometimes that tune can stick in my head for months or even years before I go and do something about it. But yeah, it's all about when you're in the moment and the song hits you, you've got to take it and get on top of it and seize it, because if you don't, you could regret it the rest of your life and it's gone. So if you have something that is worth something, you never know. It could be those 15 minutes could be worth $1 million or the rest of your life. So
Right.
you've got to take those opportunities as they come.
I was about to say sometimes you won't even remember to regret it because it's just gone.
Mhm.
You forget you even had it.
Yeah, and then you hear it later on the radio a couple years later and go, "Dang it,
Yes,
that was in my head and this guy took it." Yeah.
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
So we have One to the Heart. Tell me about this song, what it's about.
So this is the only song where the lyrics were co-written on the album. This one was done by a friend of mine from Mississippi named Billy Sale, and another friend of mine who is from Berwick, PA, but now living in Australia. His name's Travis Lamoureux. Um, they both kind of wrote this song, and then they sent it to me, and I cleaned it up a little bit, and then I put the music to it, and then the band and I arranged it and sort of fine-tuned the music, and our drummer wrote the horn arrangement that you're going to hear in the song, and then he sent it off to one of his buddies, Joe Hasper. So this song has the most hands involved on it of any song on the record. I think we spent more time on this one than any other, and I think fans of country and fans of rock and roll are going to dig it.
Well, with that said, this is One to the Heart by Cody Tyler and the Gypsy Convoys.
Blue-eyed beauty with curvy hips, an old coat revolver with white pearl grips, will shine in the night, glow in the day, made to blow you away. Some risks in life are always worth taking. Love and money is always worth making. Just grab on and hold on tight. You're in for the ride of your life. Fly from the bell, fly from her heart. Explodes like black powder with one little spark. And without a word, will kill you dead. One to the heart, one to the head. One to the head. It's not wise to risk your life once you look into those eyes. Loaded game of roulette, you know you never will forget. Common sense, it flies away like the smoke from a hot 38. Not scared enough to cut and run to everything if you're just too numb. Far from the bell, far from her heart, explodes like black powder with one little spark. And without a word, both will kill you dead. One to the heart, one to the head. One to the head, yeah, yeah. When you find yourself on the wrong end of love, wrong end of a pistol, no guidance above. Just take a deep breath, there'll be no time to cry. Stare your demons down and kiss your ass goodbye. Far from the bell, far from the heart, explodes like black powder with one little spark. And without a word, both will kill you dead. One to the heart, one to the head. One to the head, yeah, yeah. One to the
And that was One to the Heart by Cody Tyler and the Gypsy Convoys. I must say that your style reminds me. I think I just mentioned it beforehand. It's like Creed with a country twang. And dude, awesome genius with the horns in a country song. I'm a massive fan of horns in anywhere, and especially in places where they aren't typically are. Like for example, yesterday, shout out to the Big Fat Meanies, a pop progressive punk band with a giant horn section. It's great. Why horns in this?
I mean, there are multiple country songs and country bands that have used horns over the years. Merle Haggard comes to mind. He's a hero of mine. Sturgill Simpson also has used horns on his album A Sailor's Guide to Earth, and that was nominated for a Grammy.
Right.
So, I mean, I figured you can't go wrong using horns in a country song. It goes all the way back to the beginning with like Bob Wills and guys like that. So this was just one of those songs that I could definitely hear horns with, and I kept telling the guys that during practice. And my drummer's a classically trained musician. He went to Berkeley. He also went to Lebanon Valley College for his teaching degree. He used to teach music, and he said, "Say no more. I will write a horn arrangement for this song, and we'll see what we can do with it." And it was recorded. The horns were done in Lit. It's not that far from here in a basement studio, and it sounds fantastic. And we had a lot of talent on horns.
It's great. I love it. I think horns should be added to any genre of music, and I think because why not? They're horns. Everyone's gonna love horns, especially with a high energetic song like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. We figured this was a great way to open the album and say, introduce ourselves to the world. Say, here we are. Led Zeppelin's first song on their first album was Good Times, Bad Times.
Right.
That's one of those songs is like, here we are. How you doing? We're Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Like, we wanted a song that wanted to say that to be the opening track on our album. That's why we picked it.
Howdy, I'm Cody Tyler, and here's my horn band. So we kind of during the song we were talking about people you've been compared to in the past, sound wise. What are some of your favorite comparisons?
Well, one of your former guests, Sam Schmidhuber, he told me one time we had actually done a song together. We recorded a cover of The Highwaymen with our friends Jonathan Hayes and Colin King. And he told me in that recording session, he goes, "Man, you sing like Cody Jinks, but he's like, you also kind of sound like Waylon Jennings in a way. Like you really did Waylon justice." And his wife even told me, she said, "I'm going to call you Waylon from now on." So to be compared, I don't hear it, but to be compared to either of those cats is like a huge honor to me. And you said you heard Jason Aldean and Creed. I listened to plenty of them in my day too. So it's all, anytime I get a comparison to anybody that I look up to, it doesn't matter who it is. It's touching. So.
That's great. So this was with your new band project. Tell me about how that formed, how that's going, and where that's going to go.
So the way we formed was the bass player in the cover band that I had talked about earlier. He said to me, he says, we got to play these original songs more. We need to get a band going that the guys are committed and they're willing to tour because we want to do that. We've done a little bit of that to a small extent, but he said, we got to get something going. I said, okay, musicians better than I do. I'm new at this because this was 2018 when he approached me about this. And we had our first meeting with the drummer that he found on like basically right in the new year in 2019. And we just got together. We were getting together every week. We were writing songs. And eventually the album came together that way. And our intent was to play mostly shows that were almost all original songs and a few covers. And now what it's evolved into is we're about 60-40 or 50-50 on the cover to original ratio. So we're mixing both. And one thing that we're doing, and my bass player Kenny will tell this to everybody who's willing to listen, one thing that we're able to do is we're one of the few bands right now, country bands anyway, in the area that's going out and playing our original music and getting paid to do it.
Right.
There's a lot of venues around here that don't pay, that original bands go to and play, and they're either playing for free or they're just playing for the door. And we're out here doing it. We're making our way.
Do you know why that is, or?
I don't know why it is. One thing that I could put on it is the original bands that are out here playing venues for no money, they need to start demanding more. You
It-
know, it's the same thing with like the minimum wage thing. Minimum wage hasn't gone up on a government scale, but it's gone up
outside of
because
it,
outside of it, because workers are standing up and saying, "Okay, I'm not working for 7.50 an hour. You're gonna have to."
right?
Even people that work at like Taco Bell or McDonald's, they say, we need 15 an hour at least. And now you're starting to see that musicians need to do the same thing. You got to understand, and um, I'm sure a lot of them do. It's just, you can't be afraid to stick up for yourself and say, we need to play for what we're worth. We put hours and hours and hours of time into writing these songs. Just because we're showing up and playing for 3 hours doesn't mean
That's
that
all we
what you're
are.
paying for us is just the 3 hours. You're paying for lessons we've taken,
Mm-hmm.
everything that we've done up to this point, the travel,
This is a
the
return on my
rehearsal.
investment.
Exactly. It's an ROI. But at the same time, you also have to have the crowd to draw into the venues to
True.
justify getting paid that much money. Venues and bars and places like that, they're not charity. They're not charities that they're just giving money away to bands. You have to have the draw also.
Absolutely.
But you've got to recognize where, you have bands like us, like Jess Zimmerman Band, Cold Spring Union, local bands that have that draw. You've got to
Recognize
play
that.
for what you're worth.
Yeah, and that's been a conversation on this podcast so many times where you have to recognize your worth and also building your network of people to come out to your music. Because
Absolutely.
you got to be able to go to a venue and say, "Hey, I know I can confidently draw at least 50 to 100 people to this venue." And depending on the venue, that's going to mean a lot or that's going to mean nothing, right?
Exactly.
So make sure you know your draw, make sure you know, and then you base your worth off of that as well. Because if you're gonna bring 100 people to a small in the whole bar, that's gonna mean a lot to them,
Hmm.
as opposed to bringing like 100 people to tell us that they always have like at least 100 people in there. So make sure you know your worth. Speaking of that, I just lost my train of thought. So you have this band together now. You go on tours. What has that been like? Have you guys been on tour yet?
We haven't been. See, if I can go back to my house at the end of the night and sleep in my own bed, I don't consider it a tour.
Mhm.
But if you're getting, like a hotel somewhere, if you're out there, if you're out of state, I consider that a tour. So I would say yes and no, because there were times when we've had to stay away from home as a band. Um, and then there's times where, we've traveled pretty far to play, but we still wind up back home sleeping in our own beds that night. So there have been times where it is kind of like a little mini tour,
Mm.
but I don't like to call it a tour because we're not getting that far away yet. But solo, I have toured where um, it was just me in the van with my wife, and we went all the way out. We played out as far west as Utah. We're going to Florida next month. So solo, yes, I have toured, and we're gonna be doing some touring this year yet. And the goal is to eventually get the band to do that. But when you have 3 extra mouths to feed, it's not it's not as easy to break even or make money. A lot of times you'll lose money. So we need to, what my strategy is to go and play a lot of these places solo acoustic. Like we're going to Florida next month or at the end of this month. We're kind of, I call it fort building.
Right. Yeah. Of
So
course.
we're building forts, and eventually we'll get to go back with the band when the demand is there that we can justify, the price that we're setting for ourselves.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Make sure you go out. And this is something I've been kind of doing. I like to do road trips every now and then. And I realized, oh well, if I like music and I enjoy music and I'm doing this podcast, I'm taking a southern tour road trip going to all the music cities down there, New Orleans, Dallas, Houston, Nashville, Atlanta, coming back up. And I figured, well, might as well reach out feelers and spread my wings a little bit and see the musicians there, and then later on I can come back and hook up and do bigger stuff. And same thing you're doing. You're going down to Florida, reaching out, seeing, oh, is there a taste for my music here? Or is there something that people are willing to hear? And then if so, you go back with the full band and give them what they really want.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the plan.
So, what is one venue or one circuit that you wish you could do?
We really want to get down into the Southeast. the southeastern U.S. and really get a circuit going. I've got some friends in Alabama that want me to get down there and play, and we want to get down there in the worst way. I've got some friends around Georgia that they want to get us down there. Carolinas, we would love to be able to go straight down the East Coast into Florida and then hit some of the Bible Belt, Mississippi, Arkansas, and some of those states I have hit before solo. But it's really hard to get the band on a plane with all the gear and stuff. It would cost a fortune to fly everything. So the best way to do it is we have to connect the dots in between. So let's say someone wants us to play in Alabama. We need to find shows in West Virginia, Tennessee.
Make a road trip out of it.
And be able to connect the dots so that you're making, a circle on the map and you're not just going boom, boom for a one-off and then come back. That's how bands fizzle out and break up, is they lose money because they're not touring smart. You have to tour smart.
Absolutely. You have to plan with everything. You have to plan. If someone wants to play you in Texas, well, how are you going to get to Texas? There's two ways. You can either take that plane trip and cost a fortune. You can take a car and hit some spots along the way and say, hey, reach out to different venues in these different parts of the states and say, hey, you got anything going on Tuesday evening or Friday evening or the Saturday evening, whatever it is, and do it that way. That's how you should do it as a musician, because if you don't, like you said, you're going to spend a lot of money for not a lot of return.
Yeah, and connecting the dots can be tough because, especially as an artist that's not that well known yet, it can be tough finding a place to play on a weeknight. Even for bands that are well known, it's tough to find a place to play on a weeknight that you're going to have a draw. Now, that being said, it is possible. There's an artist actually at Tellus 360 tonight that I really look up to, Charles Wesley Godwin. He's got a sold-out show at Tellus 360 tonight and tomorrow night. So a Sunday and a Monday. So there is demand in this area for our type of music because we play similar stuff to what Charles plays. And if he's selling out Tellus 360 on a Sunday and a Monday, then that gives us hope that, this area, we're from here, and it gives us hope that we'll be able to do that eventually. But we also need to get outside of the area and do that too.
Is that part of the Godwin brothers or?
No, he's from Morgantown, West Virginia. Oh, okay. He's yeah.
I know a few Godwin bands.
Oh, okay.
That was interesting. So we have one of your next songs up here. We have the second one, Still That Never Goes Dry. Still That Never Goes Dry. Tell me about that one.
So I wrote that song for my wife. We were just dating at the time. She got me to go down to Philadelphia to do an open call audition for The Voice.
Oh, wow.
In 2017. So I got through the open call audition, and then there was a callback the next day at a studio. So we went to the studio. They filmed me playing my guitar and singing to a backing track or two. Sent those tapes off to Los Angeles, and then I got a call from LA that they wanted me to come out. So they flew me out there, and they said, you made the top 150 in the country. And if you can get into the top 75, then that's when you get the blind audition, when you see the chairs and it's on TV and all that. I didn't get that far. So I was somewhere between 76 and 150 in the country. And on the plane ride home, I wrote this song for her because I was missing her. We'd only been together for 9 or so months at the time. And it was one of the longer periods that we spent apart up to that point in the relationship. And I was just missing her like crazy. So the plane ride home, we were somewhere over Mississippi, and the words started coming to me. And I started writing that song on the plane, and then I finished it a couple weeks later when I was at work. But yeah, it just kind of came together that way. And the music video for it, we took footage from our wedding in July of 2021 in Vermont. So the music video's in Vermont. The song was written 30,000 feet above the air, somewhere between LA and Atlanta. And but the whole thing was recorded right here. So it's all over the country, this song. It's got DNA everywhere.
That's awesome. This is Still That Never Runs Dry by the Cody Tyler and the Gypsy Convoys.
You will see my name in marquee lights spotlight loud and bright. I'm on this gypsy convoy, and don't you know it's so bold. It's gonna be landing in Atlanta tonight. If you wanna find me anytime soon, I'll be in a smoky old bar room, breaking up the fights, hoping I'll survive the night. I'll be headed home in the morning light. When I hit that stage, I get high. Honey, I'm just another guy, doing what I can to keep from sinking. Just loving you is like drinking from a steel that never goes dry. I hope you'll be there when I get home. I come home dirty and smell of smoke. I lay it down real easy upon that mountain breezy, laying the pines and have a toll. Now I'm over Mississippi, you're probably on the ground. Come out to sing them songs, but they don't like my sound. So who the hell needs LA? I like it colder anyway. So warm you up when I lay it down. When I hit that stage, I'll get high. Honey, I'm just another guy, doing what I can to keep it sinking. Loving you is like drinking from a steel that never goes dry. When I hear that stage, I'll get high. But honey, I'm just another guy, doing what I can to keep from sinking. Loving you's like drinking from a steel that never goes dry. From a steel that never goes dry. From a steel that never goes dry.
And that was Still That Never Goes Dry. What an incredible love song, man.
Thank you.
So you were also up for a few CPMAs this year around.
Yeah, we were really honored to be nominated for 4 of them. We've never been nominated for more than 2 before. I believe we had 2 nominations in their first year, and then 1 nomination for Best Country Band for 2020. And then last year we took the year off because we hadn't put an album out yet. And we didn't, it was okay. Like, we didn't get any nominations. We were fine with that. We were like, we didn't do anything. Like, why would we get nominated for anything if we didn't do anything? But this year we tried to go all in on it because we put an album out in May of 22. So we thought, hopefully we get a nomination for, Best Country Band, at least for the album that we put out. And turns out we got nominated by the fans and the Hall of Fame for Album of the Year, which was a huge honor because that's across multiple genres. So for them to listen to that and say, okay, this is among the best albums to come out in Central PA, regardless of genre this year, that alone is a bigger honor than getting a trophy.
Well, it's one of the biggest honors because it's not even genre specific. Country band, there's only so many country bands around here.
Yeah.
And albums, there's 1,005,000 different albums around here to be picked out of one of them.
Yeah, and
Incredible.
some of the albums that were nominated alongside, it's an honor alone. Like Nick Andrew Staver is one of them, and he's absolutely incredible. I love his music, and the people who work with him and recorded with him, I know a couple of them too, and they're just amazing human beings. So in addition to album of the year, we're up for best songwriter, which personally that's a big honor.
Same
Because
kind of deal.
all of the songs on this album I wrote except for One to the Heart, which was a co-write. Um, we're also up for best country band, which is awesome, and best male vocalist. That's the second time I've been nominated in that category, and I'm the only country singer in that category. The other ones are all either rock or metal, and one of them is Phil Freeman from Small Town Titans, which I don't know if you know them, but they are incredible. Um, you probably have heard them before. They have a viral video. It's like a metal cover of the Grinch song.
Oh, is it that one?
It's
Really?
those guys. And
That's
Phil
cool.
Freeman is a monster
That's incredible.
on lead vocals. So just to be nominated in the same category as him just gives me chills. Like I know I'm a country guy and I have that background, but I did like metal at one point in my life, and I still listen to it from here.
I was gonna
here
say,
and there.
despite whatever genre, you got to be honored to be. I mean, you can recognize that there's other genres, and there are really great people in that genre.
Oh, yeah.
As a musician, if you don't recognize that, there's something wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just to be and there's no other band nominated for 4 awards there this year.
Really?
Yeah, the president of the CPMAs actually messaged me and told me, he said, "Yeah, you're the only one that has 4 nominations." I said, "You gotta be kidding me. That's an honor.
sick,
Thank you."
yeah.
Like, this is cool.
Shout out to Brandon Valentine. Awesome, great
Yeah.
guy.
Awesome guy.
So, where do you? So this is one of the award shows that you've been a part of. Have you been a part of any other ones, or do you want to get into any other ones, or
I've only been a part of the CPMAs.
so far?
So far, yeah. I mean, we would love to get nominated for any award that anybody, if anyone at all hears our music and thinks we're worthy of a nomination for a certain award show, that's great. Like we're honored to be a part of anybody that'll have us.
And speaking of country awards, there's a country band out of Cleveland. No, it's Columbus, Indiana. They have a Who's Who award show. I think it's a off branch of the ISSA Awards, the International Singer Songwriter Awards.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they're run by the Night Owls over there. Definitely, they have their submissions. I think they open up in February or April.
Okay.
Sometime soon. So definitely check out. It's Who's Who. That is who as in like, who are you? And then who as in the owl.
Oh, okay.
So it's a who's who kind of thing. And I think that can be found over at nightowlcb.com. You can find that out and go over there. And this is for the country bands because it's particularly for country. So be sure to check that out. I just had an interview with them the other day.
That's awesome.
So, what's next for you guys? Do you have anything in the works in the projects?
Yes. So we are working on writing our second album right now. We're almost finished with it.
Oh wow.
We have about 2 or 3 songs to go, depending on how long we'd like it to be. And we are looking at studios right now and trying to figure out what's going to be the best fit for us. We wanted to have more of a live sound than the last record did. The last record was pretty polished. It was good, and we love the work that was done on it, but we want to get a little bit more of a live, rough around the edges kind of sound on this next
Real
one,
and
it's more country sounding, and it's going to groove a little bit. It'll be fun.
Any kind of hints on like what the subject is gonna, or what the subject matter is gonna be?
Yeah, it's going to be more the theme of this album was it's called Stare Your Demons Down. In each song, it sort of deals with a certain aspect of life that it could either be a demon, like a bad thing. It could be struggling with, depression or struggling with substance or anything like that. Or it could be about, just relationships and, like the last song, missing my wife, being away from her, struggling with that. The album is sort of a mantra that we've lived by, where when you're starting a new band and you want to get on the road, you have that demon nagging at you. You can't do this, or this is going to be really hard. You just have to stare it down and say, no, we are going to go full speed ahead. This is, we're hitting the ground running.
Right.
the next album, the theme is going to be like trucker songs, like trucker country.
like anthems.
Yeah. And my dad is a truck driver, so we're going to dedicate the next album to him. So that's kind
great.
of a little secret I'll let y'all in on.
So speaking of staring your demons down, we have one last song from you, Fate I Can't Outrun, which sounds very much of that theme of there's some demons chasing after me.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So that song came to me at my day job. I substitute teach, and I had a prep period. I was just sitting at my desk, and I had a solo acoustic tour booked for that summer, and it was towards the end of the school year, and I was just thinking about getting on the road, and the song came to me, and I wrote it, and it was a little different than what you hear now. And then I got stuck at a train crossing on my way home one night from a band practice, and I changed up the first verse to fit what I was experiencing getting stuck at that railroad crossing, and the whole song, the story just kind of came together. So it's figurative, but on the surface the song is about, like a train engineer traveling, with anthracite coal from Reading on the Reading Railroad, where I'm from, out to, like, say, Chicago,
right?
To go out west, and the stuff he sees along the way.
That's awesome. And this is Fate I Cannot Run by Cody Tyler and the Gypsy Convoys.
This train rolls on through the black of night, rolling that rock of anthracite, rolling away, no end in sight, through hills carved out with dynamite. I was born a rambler's son, raised on God and Granddad's gun. Now I ride west into the sun to escape a fate I can't outrun. No, I ain't no plains cowboy, but I roll on the stone convoy. I beg many a barroom to implore, but I roll on for Illinois. Yeah, I roll on for Illinois. The devil runs close beside me here, as the prairie wind sifts through my hair. As the ghost of her, she chills the air. She takes advantage of my mind's warfare. She takes advantage of my mind's warfare. No, I ain't no plains cowboy, but I roll on this long convoy. I beg many about road to implore, but I roll on for Illinois. Yeah, I roll on for Illinois. Will I tire of the road? There'll always be a hunger this I know. Run the plains with a buffalo, a rambler's son so far from home. A rambler's son so far from home. No, I ain't no plains cowboy, but I roll on this long convoy. Many a barroom to implore. Now my soul runs free like the Iroquois. Yeah, my soul sings free like the Iroquois. I was born a rambler's son, raised on God and Granddad's gun. Now I ride west into the sun to escape a fate I can't outrun.
It's a nice little organ in there.
Thanks. Yeah.
And that is Fate I Cannot Run by Cody Tyler and the Gypsy Convoy. Where can people find you?
So you can find us on Facebook at Cody Tyler Music, Instagram at Cody Tyler Music, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. And then we have our main website is codytylermusic.com.
Noticing a trend here.
Yeah, we try to stay consistent so people can just punch one thing in, and yeah, less to remember.
That's something I wish I could do. Everyone and their mother has a story podcast, apparently. So be sure to go check them out. We have a few more minutes here, and we're going to get into some of the questions I'd like to ask all of my guests. But before that, you're a teacher. You teach social studies, right?
That's my certified subject, yeah, but I'm a substitute, so I fill in any subject that'll have me. I find that I can, if I need to teach a lesson, I could probably do a lesson in almost any subject except chemistry.
That's fair enough. Chemistry is an animal.
Yeah, and when I took it, when I was in high school, they tried a different method of teaching where it was a flipped classroom, where you learn through podcast videos at home, and that was your homework. And then when you were in class, you were doing chemistry problems and equations, and the teacher would help you. But I didn't learn that way.
Yeah, that seems
weird. They called it a flipped classroom, and I didn't learn anything.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I just memorized what I needed for tests and stuff, and I passed, but I didn't retain anything. It was a terrible method of teaching chemistry.
I feel like everyone has this weird chemistry story, because my chemistry teacher, for those who are back home in Delmar, Delaware, they know Mr. Bobby Ellis, who was the wildest teacher in the world. He would explain electrons by getting up on a ladder and say, "Oh, if I'm this electron and I'm jumping off now, I'm going to another electron," and it's like, what are you talking about? He was a wild man, some wild stories from there, and pretty much you just had to read the book, and you'll be fine.
I'd expect nothing less of a chemistry teacher,
right? Yeah,
to be a little zany like that.
Great guy, love him. Still calls me Shrek, because I was Shrek in the high school performance there.
That's cool.
So that's how he knows me, and that's how I'll always be known to him, and that's great. Shout out Mr. Ellis. So how do you think teaching, because that's adapting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that's helped you music wise?
I mean, as a fan of the Allman Brothers and as a musician, I've never shied away from improvising. You know, and as a podcast personality, you know about improvising and how important it is to be able to think on your feet.
Right.
So yeah, as a substitute teacher, you know, I think on my feet. If a lesson needs to be taught, I'm able to kind of improvise and think on my feet and try to learn stuff on the spot the same way that I can as a musician. And I'm also a kind of a student of music history too. I love my music history. I love studying bands that came before me and what they've done, and to try to apply it to my own band. So social studies and history and me and music, it's always been a part of my personality. It's always been who I am.
If you could pick between the two, what would you do? Teaching or music?
Oh, music, hands down. Hands down. That's why I'm out here doing this. I mean, teaching is the day job, but I mean, music is my passion. That's where my heart's at for sure.
So, being it your passion, what is one of the best pieces of advice anyone has ever given you?
That's a great question that I actually have an answer for. So years ago, I went to go see Cody Jinks at a concert. He's one of the biggest, if not the biggest name in independent country music.
Yeah.
So he's unsigned to a record label, but he really has sort of changed the game and made his own way. A piece of advice he gave me was something that he had heard from his hero, Merle Haggard. And he said, you know, if God gives you a gift, it's practically a sin not to share it with the world. And he told me that when I told him that I was an aspiring musician, because at the time I'd only been playing live in front of people for about a year when I saw him and met him. And he said, just keep at it. He says, if you have that talent, you need to continue to share it. If you don't, you're wasting what the Lord gave you.
Are you a Christian then?
I am.
So, because I asked that because I was going to go into, because I'm also a Christian, this being a Christian college. I was going to go into a little bit of the theology of the parable Jesus tells us about the man and his talents, right? Someone they give 1, 7, and I can't remember the other number, but this person gives his workers talents, goes away, and comes back, sees what they did with them. The two of them multiply it and have something to show for it. The other one buried it away and protected it to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
And the gist of the story is the I guess the business owner. I wish I knew this way better than I should because this has been brought up many times on this podcast. Is that the moral of the story is why didn't you use your talents to multiply it and show off for it?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you do it? I gave it to you for a reason, not to hide away. But it's the same kind of logic. Don't hide your light under a bushel, right? Let your light shine and show, in this case, the glory of God to everyone else, the gifts that He's been giving you.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's music really is a gift
Absolutely.
from God. It's yeah.
So, what is one of the funniest or worst things that ever happened to you on a gig?
On a gig. Oh man. Couple months ago, I forgot a microphone stand, and it was just a solo show, and I needed something, so I had a stand that I put speakers on, and I had to put the speaker on the ground, and I had to use this as like a makeshift mic stand, and I had this big ball of duct tape holding the microphone on the top of the stand because it's a speaker stand, so it's just like a pole.
Right.
So I had to like duct tape the microphone to the pole, and I had to like lean differently. My back hurt the next day from leaning for 3 hours because it wasn't, like a boom stand, like these nice booms and stuff. Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. and it was a private show, and I felt so bad, and I said to the people, I'm really sorry, you guys, you're paying me your money to put on a show for you, and I can't even remember to bring a mic stand. This is so embarrassing. This never happens. And yeah, but they laughed about it. They're like, we don't care. You sounded great no matter what kind of gear was in front of you. So they didn't care about it as much as I did, but that was kind of embarrassing because people were walking up to the stage and like, what is he using? Is he a poor music? Is he off the street? Can he not afford a mic stand? Like, no,
Right.
I just left it at home, and home's 45 minutes away. I couldn't run back and get it, so we had to improvise.
Well, it's always good to know how to improvise as a musician because, believe it or not, those things happen, and you got to be ready and you got to do it.
And it happens to the best of us.
It does.
And literally the day after that happened to me, I saw a post on Facebook that just popped up. Someone else had done the same thing, and they used a hand truck. They had to duct tape their microphone to a hand truck and sing into that. And it's like, okay, I'm not the only one. I guess I shouldn't be too hard on myself.
And that just goes to, really, that just goes to, country is all about, improvising and getting down and dirty with things and, duct tape and spit. What more about it than, sometimes we're getting a mic stand and saying, you know what, we're gonna redneck a solution out here.
Yeah, just jerry rigged the whole thing, and we figured it out.
Between
my wife and I, we worked together as a team, and we got it figured out.
So, last question. I guess I have 2 more. And if you're comfortable with this one, what is worship to you? I like to ask all my
Worship to me. See, to me, I don't go to a church. I find in my own experience that worship is a very personal thing. And one of my favorite places to talk to God is in a tree stand hunting. I haven't done as much hunting in the last few years as I would like to do because I'm playing music all the time. And, playing a show on a Friday night, getting up early to go hunt deer on a Saturday is tough.
Yeah.
But that is really the best place that I like to connect with God is when I'm in a tree stand, and just especially when you get to sunrise and the forest is waking up around you. It's like he's taking the volume knob and just going like that, because you hear squirrels, you hear birds, you hear all sorts of different things. Just slowly but surely it gets to be almost deafening because of how quiet it was at 5 a.m. and that's, to me, that's you're in God's home there. That's his temple, his nature, to me.
You say that, I'm getting chills because you're so right. I was a Boy Scout. I'm an Eagle Scout.
Same here.
Oh yeah,
right on.
Eagle Scout as well.
Yeah.
Nice, congratulations.
You too.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I know exactly that feeling of when you wake up early in the morning, you can't see no sun, and you just hear the dying sound of the crickets. growing into the chirping of the birds
Mhm.
and all the other, animals that you can hear flying around, or maybe walking around, sometimes scarily,
Mhm.
sometimes bigger than you.
Yeah. And then the scariest thing of all, your scoutmaster on the bugle.
Yeah, and then you realize, oh
Playing
wait,
revelry.
I gotta get up too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's what a peaceful serene experience to go out into nature, wake up before everything else, and then watch everything else or listen to everything else wake up.
Yeah, it's something else.
So, last question: what is one thing that you know now that you wish other musicians would know
That's a great question. So something that I know now that I wish other musicians would
when they first
know
start out?
when they start out. Okay. I have to think on that one for a second. I mean, I've learned a lot over the last few years. Yeah, if I could say anything to anyone at all, and I need to start heeding my own advice better, it's
Mm.
content, content, content. Always be cranking out content, even if it's just you sitting with your guitar and playing. You need to keep posting, keep making videos, even if it's not the best quality. You just keep putting your name out there and people keep sharing it, and eventually you will get where you want to be.
Absolutely, especially in this digital age where short content is king.
Yeah.
Uh, it doesn't matter. Like for those who have been fans of the show for a while, I started out with a really crappy camera, and
Oh,
that's okay. It doesn't because it doesn't matter. Like you said, uh, you know, I've always had this kind of quality audio, so that's great. But visually, it doesn't. I mean, to a certain extent, it doesn't matter the quality unless you're just seeing pixels.
mm,
But if you only can do what is it 360 or 720, that's fine as long as you get that audio out there and your name out there and you're doing stuff all the time. You're hitting all the algorithms or whatever. You're just making sure your name is still in the minds of people. You're doing great, and you shouldn't ever worry about imperfections because that's another thing. That's a lot of the reason why content isn't being put out is because well, it's not perfect or it's not good enough. Doesn't matter. People aren't there for picture perfect perfection all the time.
yeah, and the thing about rock and roll, I mean, whether it's country or rock music, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all really kind of rock and roll. Rock
Right.
and roll is about guitars that are barely in tune, and it's about the perfect imperfections and being rough around the edges. So, yeah, any musician starting out, even if you don't think it's perfect, other people might see the beauty in those imperfections, and you want to put that content out no matter what. And my bass player likes to say, if you're not appearing, you're disappearing.
That's
So
so
the
true.
more you second guess yourself and don't stare your demons down, you're disappearing. You're not appearing. You need whatever, if it's nervousness, if it's performance anxiety, you need to stare your demons down and go for it and post that thing anyway. 'Cause somebody
Absolutely.
out there is going to love it, and it might change somebody's life or perspective.
Yeah, authenticity is the goal, not perfection.
Yeah.
It's authenticity. And you can hear that with all the old Muddy Waters band, right? You can hear
Hmm.
all the imperfections on those old recordings. And that's what made them great is because they didn't really care. Because in the end, music is music. Music is people working together, and it's not always going to be perfect. No, but we're Christians. We believe that no one's perfect anyway.
Exactly.
And so
I was
why
just
try to
gonna hit
be?
on that. Yep.
Why try to be perfect in an imperfect world? People and if you notice, this is a growing sentiment in the music industry. People don't like perfect.
Exactly.
People don't like plastic cutouts.
Yeah, if something is too polished or perfect, and I blame the pop music industry for
Oh, me
that.
too.
Like Rihanna's performance at the Super Bowl next Sunday, it's gonna be flawless. It's gonna be perfect. And there's a lot that
It's gonna be
people
forgettable.
and it's gonna be forgettable
Yep.
because it's so perfect and flawless. Think about the Super Bowl performance with Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson. That was imperfect, but everybody remembers
Everybody
it.
remembers it. Yeah. Whenever something goes wrong, I mean that just makes everybody more human too. It just because as another Christian thing, idolatry is a big thing, and uh, you don't want to become something that is so perfect that you always have to build yourself up to be perfect. That's just too much stress.
Yeah, and the only infallible thing at the end of the day is God himself anyway.
Right,
So
exactly.
people like to see when others are human, even if
Yeah.
the people who are seen as human, even if they feel embarrassed, at the end of the day, it can be better for their brand.
It absolutely is, because it makes you, oh, that person's approachable at the end of the day, and that's
Yeah.
gonna make more engaged fans. That's gonna make more engaged shows. That's gonna be like, think about Live Aid, right? And
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you know Live Aid, right?
Of
Freddie
course.
Mercury,
Yeah.
that one of the best live recordings ever, in my opinion. It's because Freddie Mercury didn't try to shy away from his imperfections. He was there with the audience. He messed up singing a few times, and that he stopped singing a few times and let the other people sing. He didn't give a perfect show, and that's what made it so good.
Hmm. Yeah, it's that, and again, that's how rock and roll is, and that's real rock and roll. My favorite live album of all time is the Allman Brothers at
Mm.
Fillmore East, and there's imperfections on that. There's some ugly notes that get hit, especially when you're improvising. It can happen,
Yeah.
but we love it for what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so with all that said, please check out Mr. Cody Tyler at, CodyTylerMusic.com and
That's
everywhere
right.
else.
Yep, and everywhere else. Yeah, we've got CDs. If you're into the physical copies,
Absolutely.
we've got those online. We've also got vinyl coming in the next couple of months.
That's sweet.
Because we're independently releasing this and not on a major label, it's taken a year for the vinyl to get pressed, but that should be on our doorstep around March or April, maybe May. And as soon as we get those, it's going to get mailed out to all the people that have pre-ordered them. And if you haven't pre-ordered, we have plenty of units left that you can buy or pre-order on our website right now. And then if you just listen to it, via streaming, we have it on all the services: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you listen to it that way. But I'm a vinyl nut, so I said, this is our first album. We have to get this pressed. We have to.
Absolutely. This is The Story Podcast. My name is Corey Rosen. You can check out all of our stuff that I have on CoreyRosenProductions.com. That's CoryRosen Productions.com. You can find out more about me, what I do, all the work that I do, including this podcast and all the previous guests that I've had on. And if you want to check out the next few guests that I have on this week, this Tuesday, David Gates. He's a local performer around here. Does 200 shows per year, 200 plus shows per year. That's a lot if you know how many days are in a year. Then we have this Saturday, we have Kevin Gannon on again from he runs a great charity called the Bedside Musicians Manor, where he takes musicians and they go out and perform for those who can't hear it, like nursery homes or retirement homes, or people that can't go out and listen to music, and he brings the music to them.
That's really cool.
It is really cool. And then next Sunday, we have one of your friends, Cody Ross Smith Country, coming on.
Okay.
And that's going to be a great time as well. With all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you guys later. Bye.